Into the ballgame is Paul McKeskey, who's become kind of a cult hero in Milwaukee, Tommy.
Fred Roberts hits McKeskey at the other end.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friend, Big Mo, Paul McKeskey, coming to you on a Monday evening. Man, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Mo, we got to see, I thought was an entertaining NBA Finals that you predicted right here on We Got Next 2 weeks ago, that it was going to be OKC in 7. Brother, you called it. And you know, Mo, and as I told you that night, a lot of people thought OKC would win, and pretty easily, maybe 4-2. But you saw something that I think a lot of people were missing from. Was it more what you saw in Indiana, or just how they matched up?
I think it was both. I mean, but it was more that I saw in Indiana that, I forget, did they beat Boston and they beat Milwaukee Cleveland. And they beat Cleveland. They beat the best teams, and injuries, okay, whatever. But they had won since January. They had won the most games in the NBA since January. So they were on a roll coming into the playoffs. And then, they had a deep team, very talented. And then, they had Halliburton, who was the finisher of the playoffs, and he did it in the other series. So I did not understand why he couldn't do it in a few games in this series. And, a lot of guys who picked OKC picked them in 5 or 6. I thought all along that Indiana was tough at home. They're a deep team. Their bench plays well, just like OKC's bench. But in the long run, I thought that OKC's size, because Indiana has no size. I mean, they're playing with a 6'8", 6'9" center, and OKC has a 7'2" 4-man, a stretch 4, and a 6'11" power center, and I think that. That was their edge along with the MVP. But, I thought it was going to be a long series and it was going up and down. And, I think in the long run, OKC's coach finally figured it out. But I was sitting here yesterday when he was adjusting to Indiana's roster again and going small. That's a mistake. That's how you lost a game. You don't want to do that. And then he ended up playing Hartenstein some, and then Holmgren a lot. So, maybe he learned that lesson.
And we want to welcome everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in. We got a great show lineup, a lot of great topics to hit on, a lot of news over the weekend. We want to get your comments on the series and, what went down. How you think it played out. We got the draft coming up this week, Mo. So everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Please send us your questions and comments. Let's get right to this. This has been a big conversation today, Mo. Halliburton. If Halliburton didn't get hurt, shot would have went down to the last. I mean, we'll never know. It certainly did not help them that he got hurt.
No, of course not. I mean, he had hit 3 out of 4 threes. He had 7 points in like 6 minutes. So, of course, it would have been a different game. Now, would OKC have won? Would Indiana have won? I think OKC would have won in the end. I do. And what really happened, too, is when he went down, it was just a disaster. And everybody in the stands was quiet, and everybody at home was quiet, and you could see him pounding his fist. And I think I saw him mouth, when the trainer came over there, I think I saw him mouth, I heard a pop. And that's when I knew it was an Achilles right away. You could see it happen. But it took the air out of the building, right? I mean, Indiana still, despite being down Halliburton, had a 1-point lead at halftime.
That
The reason for that is Indiana's team rallied around one of their best players. Siakam's their best player, but one of their leaders going down. They rallied around that, got energy from that, and actually, we have nothing to lose. Let's go all out, and that's what happened. And the opposite happened for OKC. They looked stunned. They looked shook when they saw Halliburton go down. They felt bad. And, and I'm going to tell you this, man, I'm glad I'm not employed by anybody in the league because I get fined for this. I think the referees felt bad too. They made a couple calls, after Halliburton went down that favored, Indiana. But, I think that had a lot to do with it. But then the third quarter, which in most of these games in this series, the third quarter has been the tell quarter. In last game, Indiana blew out OKC because they had a 24-2 run in the third quarter, and it was a 1-point game with 9 minutes left in the third quarter, and by the end of the third quarter, it was a 22-point lead. So that third quarter is so important in basketball, and it's been important in this series. And I think OKC got to go in halftime and say, "Listen, we all feel sorry for Halliburton, but that's part of the deal, right? Do you think if Shea Alexander went down, do you think they would feel sorry for us? No. They would come out and try to beat us. So we need to readjust, get back in it, and take this game because it's the championship, and that's what we should do." Because that happens a lot.
So, Mo, you do think they talked about his injury at halftime?
I don't think they talked about it, but I think it was. If I was a coach, I wouldn't have dwelled on it, but I would have mentioned it. Hey, Hallie's out. That's not our problem. I mean, that's just the way of the game, and we need to go. Do you want to win a championship? We're right here, but we can't feel sorry for anybody. We got to go play our game and take this game.
I know you texted me the moment it happened. I'm trying to get this up on the screen so we can take a look at it here. Let's see.
Yeah, because you can the way it happened and when it happened. One thing you remember in KD, he did it when he was with Golden State, when he was playing in the game in Toronto, and KD was having a good game. And he tried to do something he tried to drive. Why is Halliburton trying to drive? He just made 3 spot-up threes. And he tried to do something because, you know what? The adrenaline makes your body feel a lot better than it really is. And that's what happened. And, he tried to drive and did that negative step that KD did, that Tatum did, that Lillard did. And
Can you see this, Mo?
No.
Can't see it. Okay.
Uh-uh.
Let me keep working on it.
Yeah. But that negative step, so when you catch the ball, you have a pivot foot, and then when you step backwards and push off right here, that's a negative step right there. See his foot? That's a negative step he took. And then that's when it went. You can see right here when he catches, see that negative step? Right there.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
And that's what does it, because he's pushing off from that step when the heel is off the ground and really stretched right there. See how stretched that calf muscle is? That's the angle that when you pop your knees, that's what happens. Watch this angle right there. See that? That's stretched out. Your calf is stretched as far as it can go. And if you have a damaged calf, that's when it pops. And you could see it there. I knew right away. You can actually see it if you watch in slow motion. It's pretty ugly. You could see the muscle kind of shivering a little bit. But that negative step, when you catch and step back and then push forward, that's what stretches out that calf muscle, which is pressuring up against your ankle bone. Believe me, I've had 6-foot surgeries, and I've talked to my podiatrist about this. And he mentioned that all that stress, because every time you step on that, it's hard. I can't even do it. You're pushing off, And that Achilles is rubbing against that bone, rubbing for your whole career, ever since you started playing. And if you haven't, he had an injury, it was strained, so that muscle is already not strong. And then you put that extra step back pressure on it and that angle, and then you push off with all your force. That's when it happens. You could see it a mile away.
And Steve is asking the question that you are kind of addressing. And some people said, well, maybe he shouldn't have played. It's game 7, man. Number one, you couldn't keep that young man from getting on the floor.
I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So who makes the final decision on if a player plays or not? Well, if you're going by the rule of whatever, it's the head coach is probably making that decision after he talks to the trainer, to the doctors, looks at x-rays, and then talks to the player and talks to the owner, because guess what? That owner has over $200 million invested into Halliburton, which he's not going to be able to play next year probably. So, but all those come into effect, and really it's the coach's decision. When I was with Dallas, we had Dirk Nowitzki, and he had a messed up knee. He tweaked his knee, and we played Game 6 in San Antonio. And Dirk wanted to play. Everyone wanted him to play. And in the long run, Don Nelson said, "No, I'm not playing you, because your future is worth more to the organization, to me, because I love you, and to you means more than playing in this game, to win in this game." And we actually won that game and won that series. But I've only seen that happen once, because usually if a player says, "Coach, let me give it a try." That's what happened in Game 6. He wasn't supposed to play in Game 6. He went out. They tested him before the game. He felt pretty good. And then your adrenaline kicks in, and your body feels better than it really is. And then, he was playing. If you look in Game 6, he played most of the first half. He did come out in the first quarter because he didn't want that calf to tighten up. And then luckily for them, he only had to play 23 minutes because they blew out OKC. They blew him out. Right. And there's a point in that game, too, if you watch, when they were up by 28 or something, and then OKC made a run, and there's still about 6 minutes left. And, do you put your starters back in? Do you put Halliburton back in? And you can see Halliburton's, hey, you told me I was done. I'm icing my calf now. And luckily for them that they came through with it. But, Game 7, you never know when he's going to be there again. Hell, he did the same thing in Game 6. He went out, tried it, said, "Hey, feels fine. I'm going to play." And he won the game. They blew out OKC. So in Game 7, he tried it. "Hey, it feels pretty damn good. Hey, I just made 3 threes. You can't take me out of the game now." And that's when it happened, unfortunately. But
and Paul, this is why, these are these guys are so well paid, because the consequences of decisions are so enormous. Of course, if they knew he was going to tear his Achilles, they wouldn't have played him. But you can't live like that.
Yeah, anybody that's playing is one bad landing on your ankle and tearing your ACL away from being done, right? Obviously, if your calf is stretched and strained, you have more of an opportunity that's going to happen. But really, you could land on a healthy ankle or whatever. You could break it, whatever. That's the risk you take, and it's Game 7. And all those people that say that, the Pacers shouldn't have let him play and Rick Carlisle shouldn't have let him play, I would say let's reverse that. Let's say he doesn't play in Game 7. He doesn't play. and they get beat by 20. Now what do you say?
Yeah.
Now what do you say to Rick Carlisle and Halliburton? Why didn't you play?
Yeah.
You know, you played in game 6, right? And you did good in game 6. You know, why did they let him play? I'm sure he wanted to play. I mean, come on, man. You could second guess this forever. But, I mean, I know, you know, I have knee surgeries and hips and ankles and everything. But, you know, if you put me in that situation in game 7, hell, I did it. I played on a bum knee, and it wasn't even a game. It was a whole series. I tried to get my broken rib shot up and play against the Pistons, and it was game 4. So, you know.
Yeah, and this time of year, nobody's 100%.
Yeah, so,
even
you know,
playoffs.
I mean, you know, I just wish that he would be smart enough to know, hey, listen, I'm doing okay just spotting up and shooting these threes. You know, I don't have to do all this other stuff. And, you know, but at the same time, then you think, well, you got to play your game, because, you know, when guys get hurt in practice all the time, when they're trying not to get hurt, they always get hurt.
Yeah.
When you play, you know, half speed, 3/4 speed, that's when you tend to get hurt. You know, it happens a lot in football, you know.
Yeah. Let's get into this. First of all, hats off to tip of the hat to the Pacers, man. I thought they just competed every single night, and TJ McConnell was at times he was the best player on the court out there.
Well, I tell you, I think it was the second quarter, I think he had 16 or 8. They couldn't guard him, Chris. They couldn't guard him. He was shooting pull-ups. He was shooting layups. He was shooting floaters. So, you know, he's one of those guys off the bench that's, you know, so important. But I want to rewind, Ricky, because I want to talk about what I've talked about the Achilles, right? Because 3 main players in these year's playoffs have popped their Achilles: Lillard, Tatum, and now Halliburton. They've all 3 popped their Achilles in these playoffs. And there's also 3 or 4 others not main, but, you know,
8 guys this year, Mo. 8 guys
have popped their Achilles. And, you know, you may think I'm crazy, but I'm looking on the floor, and those shoes sure look pretty. Those colors sure look pretty, but they don't protect you and give you any support because they're all low cuts. Most of them aren't even 3/4 cuts, and let alone high tops. The old high top, well, it doesn't look cool. Yeah, but it might protect your ankle, and it might protect you from popping your Achilles possibly. And then the other thing is, nobody gets taped anymore. We used to get taped all the time to protect your ankles. And guess what tape your ankles does? It protects your Achilles too, if you do it, and you do it right. And I remember when I was with Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki had horrible ankles. They had ligaments that were so stretched out. He taped almost halfway up his calf, his ankle, his foot, his ankle, all the way, and where it was taped so tight that, you know, it took him about an hour to get it stretched out where he could play, but it protected him. None of these players do that anymore. They don't even wear 3/4 tops. I mean, come on, guys. It's like, well, I don't want to shoot an underhand free throw, even though I'll make more of them because it doesn't look cool. Hey,
was that mandatory that you guys got taped?
I think when I first came in the league, I think it was, or ankle break. But I think as I went on in my career in the mid to late '80s, I think they took that away. And you know, some players, it was mandatory to get taped in practice, so you didn't turn your ankle in practice. But yeah, and now, you know, heaven forbid anything's mandatory. You can't have anything mandatory. Like, hey, you got to wear nice pants and a decent shirt on the bench. No, that's mandatory. We can't do that. We want to wear sunglasses and a hat backwards, and we want to look like this on the bench. You know, 'cause that's what we can. You can't make us be mandatory. So nothing mandatory in the NBA anymore. But you know, they should look at this. I mean, you know, there's a reason. When I first came in the NBA, you could wear jewelry when you played. You could play a necklace. You could wear a necklace. You could wear something on your wrist. You could wear earrings. And there's a reason, because sometimes a ring got caught on someone's jersey and tore someone's finger up, or an earring got ripped out. So you can't wear jewelry anymore when you play in the NBA. There's a reason for that, But I mean, I would look at. I mean, Did you see SGA's shoes he had around his neck? Those big old gold shoes.
Yeah.
They look like high tops. Why don't you wear them?
Yeah.
I mean, that's legitimate, right? Am I just an old man? Get off my lawn.
I think you're absolutely right. We did not have these kind of injuries prior to that, and you guys are playing 82 games. There was no rest games or anything.
I think they played. Didn't the OKC play 98 games? I think, didn't they? With the playoffs, they played 98 games. Yeah. So I mean, and it started when the little guards wore low tops because they could, and they didn't have bodies like me or big guys, and us big guys still wore high tops to protect our ankles. Like, how many offensive linemen in the NFL don't wear knee braces?
Right.
Zero. They all do.
And these guys are so athletic. I think about Zion literally exploding his shoe, that he's so big and so athletic. His shoe just said, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if I'm an agent or a player or a parent around a player or something, hey, why don't we kind of look at least some 3/4 shoes, right? And maybe give you a little protection. Maybe wear an ankle brace or something. I don't know. I mean, I would. Or you want to be out, pop your Achilles, be out of here. I don't know.
Absolutely. And Mo, I do want to get into a little bit. I mentioned T.J. McConnell. This is, I think, Chris's defense was definitely played an important part in them winning the time. But you said going in, they are a great defensive team, and we saw that at times, although they could not guard T.J. McConnell at times.
He was like a mini Steve Nash. They couldn't stay in front of him, and he has that ability to pull up and shoot. He makes guys. I know Holmgren, was around him and trying to block. He makes guys like me so mad at him because he's some little dude that gets his shot off somehow. And he plays so hard and he's tough, and But to answer, OKC was the best defensive team in the NBA all year long, and in the playoffs. And they have 4 of the top 5 individual defenders in the NBA, and it showed. And it really, their defense fueled their offense.
And I think Marcus says Miles Turner could have given more, but I think you just kind of explained why Turner couldn't give them more. When you look at the defense that Holmgren and Hartenstein are capable of playing.
Well, and I think, that's part of it. But also, if you look at, and I watch, OKC's rotations last night were spectacular. So, that means if you help on someone's driving and you help off, then and they pass it, someone has to rotate to your man from underneath the basket. Then if they pass it, someone has to rotate out to the corner. And then if they pass it out to the top, someone has to rotate out there. That's hard work. That's very difficult to do. Takes a lot of energy. And, OKC, sometimes players will rotate out and try and contest a shot, but they just kind of halfway. They were flying at players. They were getting up in their faces. They were making them drive. And, that had a ton to do with it, that they weren't getting Turner and those guys weren't getting open looks because the rotations were so aggressive to them. And it really paid off. It's hard to do, especially in a 48-minute game, but they were doing it.
And Marcus just mentioned some guys don't wear enough socks. But I do see guys' shoes come off so easily now.
Because they're low tops. I mean, and I know what Marcus is talking about. Like when we played, you wore 2 pairs of socks. That's, it helped with, stop blisters and, it gave you a little support. But yeah, so, but, they don't do that anymore. But because the shoes come off because they're low tops. No, they don't need pump shoes. Those are, and you know what? Those things, hey, Chris, those things weighed like 800 pounds. I think I have a pair in the closet over here, because I kept a pair. I used to wear those with the orange thing you pumped up, but those things were so heavy.
Hey, Mo, did you get a chance to take advantage of the shoe deals that were coming along, or was that just coming in as you were leaving the game?
No, when I first came in the league, I had a shoe deal, even though I was a second-round pick. It wasn't for much, $15,000 or something like that. But yeah, everyone in the league had shoe deals. And then it changed when Magic and Larry started to get all the money from Converse, and then MJ got all the money from Nike. So what happened was the shoe companies, when I first came in the league, the companies were trying to get as many players as they could wearing their shoes. That changed with MJ and Bird, with Magic and Bird, and then MJ, where the shoe companies wanted to get the best players wearing their shoe, or the best player. And that's where it is now. So, most of these guys don't have shoe deals anymore.
So, Mo, when you played it, you're playing 82 games, you go through how many pairs of shoes?
Shoot, I have no idea. I mean, you probably, so you practice in your shoe for a couple practices, then that becomes a game shoe. Then you rotate another practice. We never wear new shoes when you play. But, I would say you change, I wasn't a starter, so I wasn't playing heavy minutes. But so I would change my game shoes probably every week, probably. So maybe a little long if I liked them, or but most starters were they were changing their game shoes every 2 games, probably every 3, probably.
So when you need it, you'd call your company, hey, I need.
Yeah. There's go to an NBA locker room. I mean, there's a whole storage area of just shoes. That's all they have. All the players' shoes.
Wow.
They have them in different colors. They have, I mean, I'm sure, any starter or whatever in the NBA at one point has probably 20 to 30 shoes in that storage room back there. They're all on rope to crank things, and they're all in their own sections, and then they have extra shoes with extra sizes for the two-way guys and the other guys, but yeah, I mean, I would say, and then on the road, they take 2 or 3 bags of shoes. Everybody's shoes go in, and the equipment guys take care of it. So yeah, I mean,
see, and that's really interesting to know.
Yeah, and you never. So I'd practice in a shoe for a couple practices to break it in, and that would become my next game shoe. And then that's my rotation. That's your rotation. Because you never want to put on a brand new pair of shoes and play in them. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know why anybody else would, because you don't have to, And then, during a game, if something happens to your shoe, when you're at home, there's 20 more of your shoes back in the storage area they can get. When you're on the road, you got at least 2 or 3 more pairs of your shoes and go back to the locker room and get them.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting. Hey, let's talk about OKC. Is this the start of a dynasty, Mo? They got draft picks. They got all kind of. They're the youngest team in the league, and coming off a championship, which does not mean they're just going to keep winning. I mean, they could lose guys, and you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've set themselves up to have a good chance of being a dynasty because they've drafted well, but they've also added players. The 2 missing pieces are Caruso and Hartenstein. That's it. If they don't have those 2 guys, they don't win. So what did they do last year? They went and got them, So, they're strong at every position. They're young in almost every position. I didn't know Hartenstein, when he plays, he looks like he's only 26 years old.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the game last night?
Yeah.
So he won a G League championship a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And in that game, he won MVP of the championship game. He made 10 threes in that game.
Yeah.
So, but
And he don't even look at the 3-pointer with these guys.
No, because he's smart, right? I mean, maybe later on down the line he might, but the first thing that OKC needs to do is they need to yes, they do have a great GM,
Yeah.
and they have an owner that lets him do what he wants to do. The first thing they're going to do is in July they have 3 major decisions they need to do. So in July, Shea Alexander, they can sign him to an extension and max him out. So in July, they can sign him for 4 more years for $294 million. So that averages to $73 million a year. Or they can wait till the next year, and then they can sign him to 5 years at $350 million or more. So that's the decision. If I'm OKC, I'm trying to sign him in July and get him locked up because he's signed next year. He's going to make $40 million, and then he's a restricted free agent the year after that. So in July they can sign him and lock him up for another 5 years, and that's what I would try to do. Now
we're going to have a $100 million player one of these days.
Yes, there will be. Yeah. Yeah, and it's happening quicker than you think. So another person that's up is Holmgren is up. In July they can extend him. So Holmgren I kind of get it. People get on Holmgren, right? He's too skinny. He gets pushed around. He blocked 5 shots last night. He's 22 years old. 22. He's not even going to be in his prime for another 8 to 10 years. Think about that.
Yeah.
And he's a bargain right now he's making $14 million, and then he's got a contract for next year for $13 million. Yeah. So in July they can extend him also as a restricted free agent. So
and you know what I like about Hogan, man? Yeah, he's skinny and he gets pushed around, but he fights. I mean, he competes. He does not back away from any of that.
He's always been like that. I've seen footage of him in high school and in the Nike camp. He's always been like that. He's always got pushed around, but he always fights. You're right. And then the other decision they have to make, probably the biggest decision, is Jalen Williams. Jay Will is up. His contract's up. He's a restricted free agent next year. His contract is $9 million next year, and then he's a restricted free agent. I mean, he's on his rookie contract. He was drafted 2nd round out of Santa Clara. He made $6 million this year for the NBA. That's like nothing. So they need to extend him too. The good news is, I think out of the 30 teams, they're the 5th lowest team salary in the league. So they have room to spend some money, and they're going to have to do it to those 3 guys, right? But so Dort's signed for 1 more year. Aaron Wiggins is signed for 2. Caruso signed for 4. He's locked up. The other guys, Jalen Lin Williams. He's a free agent. He's got a team option. He's a kid from North Carolina you see on the bench all the time. He's a 6'8" power forward. So they have decisions that they're going to make. They have to make with their salary and extend those guys. But look at their players. SGA 26, Hartenstein 26, Dort is 25. Isaiah Joe, who's a good player, he doesn't play much, is 25. Wiggins is 26. Holmgren's 22. Caruso, the old man, he's only 30. And Cason Wallace, he's 21. They got to think about re-signing him too. Jalen Williams is only 23. he's like a superstar coming up. And they got a couple of 22 and 23-year-olds. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
so I'm going to throw this out there too. So if I'm OKC, I have 10 first-round draft picks in the next 5 years. I got 2 first-rounders this year. So what do you do with those? Do you try and, draft someone like Jalen Williams, that's under the radar? Or do you use them and make a move and get one more piece? It's hard after you win a championship, and those guys are so tight. They're as a group. They're friends. They're family. They love each other. Do you dare? You already brought in Harkenstein and Caruso. Those are 2 question marks you had. They fit in perfect. So do you go out and get one more of those guys? Because everybody else is making moves, right? And you have the assets to do that. So I'm going to throw out 3 scenarios for you, right, Ricky? And see which one you like best, all right? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So number 1, Miles Turner. Miles Turner is a free agent. Do you go after him? He's a 6'8", 3-point shooter, stretches the floor, gave you fits every once in a while, had a great playoff run. Number 2, Ty Jerome for the Cavs. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's a little taller TJ McConnell. That's what he plays like. Energy, shooting threes. He's not a penetrator, but he's a scorer, right? He can really knock down. He's kind of like a younger Caruso. I mean, so think about that. Or here's another thing that might shake things up. What about Kuminga from Golden State? 6'9", long, athletic, runs the floor, getting better and better, but just doesn't seem to fit in with Golden State. Add him to your wings. How about that? And he's a free agent.
That's the one I like, Mo. Kuminga.
I mean, he's a question mark, but guess what? You put Kuminga around Williams and Shea Alexander and those guys. I mean, just think of him. So how about putting he and Dort out on the floor at the same time with Harkenstein? How about that? I mean, that I agree with you. How about that? That's what I'm saying. Here you go. Okay, see, if you want Coach Mo to be your general manager suggestion, go look at Kuminga. Go get him.
And they got the assets to do it.
You get him for a first round in 2 seconds. Who cares? Give him 5 seconds. You got like 20 second round picks in the next 5 years. Give him 10 second rounds in the first round. Who cares?
I think they won 24 games 3 years ago. They won 24 games 3 years ago. But this was interesting, and I want to talk about some of the moves these teams are making, trying to deal with OKC, who's going to be the defending champ. But Game 7 was the most watched finals game in 6 years, but the series overall was the least watched series since 21. Do you think the fans finally decided, you know what, this is a really good series, and I want to see how it's going to play out? And how do you put those two together?
Well, I think hold on. I think two small markets, right? There's no New York, there's no LA, there's no Warriors, 2 small markets, no superstars. Shea Alexander is the MVP of the league, but nobody thinks of him like a Luka or a Joker or a Giannis or a LeBron. They don't think of him like that. So they're not watching the games. But I think it was Game 6 really, with Halliburton playing injured and winning that game and creating Game 7, I think they got a lot of interest in the average NBA and average basketball community that, hey, we need to watch this Game 7. And the best words ever are Game 7, and it's on Sunday, and everybody's home. So I think that has to do with it. But I think the NBA and I think NBA teams are finally realizing, right? Indiana and OKC maybe one of the most talented. Indiana wasn't, but they were the deepest and played the best defense of any of the teams in the league. But here's the NBA. We talked about OKC being a dynasty, and we got to slow our horses. I think they have what it takes to be a dynasty. But let's look at there's been 7 different NBA champions in the last 7 years, and let's look at I'm going to predict right now. I'll put this on my board, right? I think a big market team is going to win the championship next year, and here's why. So, in 2018 and 19, Toronto won, small market. The next year, the Lakers won, big market. The year after that, the Bucks won, small market. The year after that, the Warriors won, big market. The year after that, the Nuggets won, small market. Last year, the Celtics won, big market. And this year, OKC won, small market. I'm going with a big market team next year. Could be the Lakers. Could be New York.
Yeah. Hey, but tell me this, but before that, I want you to comment on this question that came in. Some of the TV guys are talking about Shea being a Kobe style player. Do you see any of that?
Yeah, I think a little bit, sure, of course. And same size. Kobe was big, wider, I think. Shea Alexander has a better handle. They run more pick and rolls for him. Kobe can get to the basket strong. Both of them not great three-point shooters, right? And both of them can finish at the rim. And both of them have great mid-range games, right? I mean, Shea Alexander's best spot is either the elbows, and Kobe's was the elbows maybe extended to the wing. That was his favorite spot. And they had, same type of game. They had a fadeaway jump shot, and they could get to the basket and stretch out and finish it. I could see that. But there's a lot more basketball. I mean, the guy's only 26 years old. Kobe had 5 or 6 championships. I don't know.
He led the league in scoring and wasn't a 3-point shooter.
Exactly. Yep.
So you don't have to jack it up from out there to be effective.
Well, one of the best, most effective players in this year's playoffs in the NBA was Halliburton. And he's not a 3-point shooter. He's a mid-range guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you want to do both, though. I mean, look at
right. Because, Halliburton, he hit 3 last night before he got hurt, but that's not his deal. Yeah. That's not his deal. But, Paul, and man, this hour is just flying by. But as we look going forward, we had the big trade for Kevin Durant. And Phoenix just bit the bullet. They tried to build a super team. Are these super team? Is the super team concept not working per se? Certainly didn't work in Phoenix because acquiring some of these guys, you got to give up so freaking much.
The NBA is cyclical and it's copy. Everybody copies everybody. That's the way it's always been. So when the Celtics won it with Parrish and McHale, everyone wanted Twin Towers. And then the Rockets won it with Olajuwon and Sampson. Twin Towers. Then the Lakers ran it with one big and run and gun Showtime. Everybody wanted to do that. So it's very cyclical. Then everybody wanted to shoot threes like Golden State because they won it. So it's very cyclical. And now if you want to be cyclical, then I just predicted that a big market team's going to win next year. Well, I'm going to predict that, the two teams that were in the finals this year were not super teams. They were well-rounded teams that had a bench, fillers for every position, strong players at every position. Yeah, and you're right. They had chemistry. They had good chemistry, and they had talent. I mean, they had talent. But I mean, Shea Alexander, was the MVP, and he was a super. But who else? Holgram? No. Jalen Williams? Not till the playoffs, and he scored 40. But he was just always a good guy there. He's like, whatever. But so I guarantee that teams in the NBA will start copying that and saying, listen, we don't have to give up the farm to get this superstar and add him to our other superstar. Why don't we have one superstar that everybody likes to play with and fill him around with guys, multiple guys, 8 or 9 guys that can help him win. And I think that's going to be the trend.
Yeah. And OKC had no egos. They really did seem like a tight-knit team, Mo.
So was Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, I just love the way Indy played. And that's kudos to Rick Carlisle. A couple of years ago, they were terrible on defense. They could score. They scored 130 and give up 140. In 2 years, he switched their defense, and they became a really tough defensive team. And to me, so much of it was just effort.
A lot of it's effort, guys, and it's hard. If I'm asked to score 20 or 30 points a game, it's hard. You want me to play defense on their best player too? That's hard, real hard. So, but it's effort and it's schemes and it's willingness. What are you willing to do to help us win? I mean, the Knicks were horrible. They won 17 games, and then 3 years later they won 50 back to back. So,
and the coach got fired.
Yeah, but he brought in that mentality, and you got to have team. You got to build a team of people players that want to be there, who are willing, and your stars have to be willing to do what you want them to do. So if Michael Jordan didn't want to play, Michael Jordan was all defensive team, by the way. If he didn't want to play defense, ain't no way any of the Bulls would play defense, and they wouldn't win. Same with Bird and the Celtics. Same with Magic. It's just, it's a mentality. So, a lot of people say talent wins. Yes, it does. But coaching does matter. And it matters X's and O's and strategies, but it matters more of what teams you put together, how you create the atmosphere around that team. Practice, airplane, video sessions, holding players accountable, weight sessions. All that is on the head coach, so it does mean something. And the Suns tried to throw some players together, Booker and KD, and then Beal, and Beal just didn't work out, and it didn't look. They were hurt a lot, but it didn't work out, and they didn't have a good group around them. They had okay players, but not great. So they pulled the plug, and they got Brooks. Who's a good defender and a tough guy who might bring in toughness to there, because Booker can defend now too when he wants to. And then they brought in Green, who was the leading scorer of the Rockets, by the way. He was the leading scorer of the Rockets. So he's a starter. And they have Booker and Brooks and Beal and Grayson Allen and Green and Ty Jones. They need a big. They need to go out and find a big, a center, that can help them play. But I think the Rockets they added somebody that they gave up 2 starters on a team that was supposed to be the young future team, weren't they? 2 weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago, they were the young team. The Rockets were the second best team in the West. They're, and they're young, but they didn't have any outside scoring or shooting, and they didn't have a closer. So they gave up 2 of their starters of a really good team with a good future. And they got KD, who is a great finisher. So, and so if you look at what the Rockets look like next year, you got Van Fleet, you got Amen Thompson, who is going to be a superstar. Love his game. his attitude, his skill level. You got KD. You got Tariq Eason, who's 24, a nice power forward wing. You got Sengun, who is the next best center probably. You got Jabari Smith, who's a great offensive player. He's a wing. He's only 22. You just signed Steven Adams. You extended him, as a big, strong guy that can really back up Sengun. He's only 32, 31. I thought he was older. You got Cam Whitmore who's coming on and Reed Shepherd. So, you've upgraded with KD, even though you gave away 2 starters. So it's going to be interesting that, they upgraded because they needed to, because they knew they couldn't beat OKC and maybe not even Dallas if Kyrie gets healthy. So it was an interesting trade, though.
Yeah. No concerns about KD. I think he's 36 now, year 18 next year. I mean, I guess you got to be concerned, but his productivity is not slipped at all, really.
No, I mean, he's not the rebounder he once was. I mean, his numbers this year are 27, 6, and 4. So when he was like the man or whatever, like 3 years ago, there's probably, 30 and 8 and 5. So he hasn't slipped much at all. And, he can shoot threes. He gets to the basket. He has pull up. You can't guard him. And the people around him, Amen Thompson, Shepard, Van Fleet, Sengun. I mean, you're going to put him next to Sengun. That's the center. I mean, that's a great combination,
Well, before we get out of here, we got the draft coming up this week. Cooper Flag is going to be heading to Dallas. I mean, that's all a sure thing.
Nothing's a sure thing in the NBA, Ricky. It's close, though. It's close. Yeah, it's close.
No, but you're right. You're right. Some other names to watch are Dylan Hopper, son of Ron Hopper. Trey Johnson is a kid. I think he was from who was Trey? He went to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see a lot of foreign players once again. When the draft used to come up, we used to know all these guys, but now unless you are just following that every day, a lot of these guys you don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, well, the top 10 picks predicted now, the top 10 are all freshmen. All freshmen. They're all freshmen. So back, years ago, you saw a guy play in college for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. Not anymore. They're all freshmen. Just think what else Houston guys, they got the 10th pick in the draft. There's some good players that they can pick up in the 10th pick that Houston got. But there's a couple players like, if I was like Golden State or Lakers or someone like that I had some asset I could move up in the draft from wherever they're in. I'm looking at the 7-2 kid from Duke, Malua, Maluach, Malak, 7-2 from Duke, long, athletic, shot blocker, catch lobs, dunk. Put him on the Lakers with Luka and LeBron. I mean, I like that.
Yeah. The league, I mean, this is really going to be an interesting season coming up because we got OKC defending in the West, but a lot of good teams, a lot of quality teams in the West. The East, Boston's going to be without Tatum. Indy is going to be without Halliburton. And that's the thing. Indy's right there. And who knows if they even get out of the second round next year. I mean, they obviously have a good team, but
they have to sign that Turner's a free agent, so he's probably not coming back. They have 2 or 3 free agents on that team, so who knows what comes back. But here's one thing about the draft. Getting back to the draft, it used to be that the draft was teams trying to get big guys. Then it was big guys from Europe, right, that had skills. Now, when you look at, let's say, top players in the draft, starting with Flag, he's 6'9", Then they go 6'6", 6'5", 6'8", 6'7", 6'4", 6'6", 6'8", 6'7". Most of them are like wing players. It shows the shift in the NBA from having bigs to having wing players that can score and defend. And I noticed that on the draft board right away today. That the emphasis in this draft is going to be wing players.
Yeah, man. I tell you, Mo, but you look at the champions in the last 7 years, you know, Oklahoma City had a 7'3" guy, a 6'11" guy. Everybody has a big that wins the championship. And they're not just sitting around, they're making important contributions. You know, they don't beat OKC doesn't beat Indy without Holmgren and Hartenstein's defense.
Yeah, I mean, but they don't beat OKC without Dort. I mean, OKC doesn't beat Indiana without Dort, a 6'8" wing defender that plays 35 minutes a game and averages 5 points. That's what he averages, 5 points. So, you know, and Caruso.
And perfectly happy to average that and just get out there.
That's what he is. Caruso averages 8 points, plays 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it takes everybody, you know. So it's going to be an interesting year. And, you know, all these injuries have shifted everything. You know, last year we're talking about Boston Dynasty, remember? Not anymore. Then a couple years ago, we were talking about Denver's dynasty. Not anymore. A few years ago, we were talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, Big Three. Not anymore.
Yeah.
That's why
with that East, the Bucks are in play now. You know, Philly had a terrible year, but you expect them to be better. The Knicks, my Pistons, a good young team. A lot of good young teams.
Orlando
just made a big move. You think Cleveland one of these days will be totally healthy in the playoffs, and we can really see what they can do. But, you know, a lot to look forward to. This offseason is going to be a very important offseason for a lot of teams.
Well, I think there's going to be the draft is Wednesday. I think there's going to be some moves tomorrow and even on draft day with some shifting movement more than usual on draft day coming up here.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, we got to get out of here. We got so many questions coming in talking about the Lakers.
They need a center. Lakers need a center. They need a center.
And Lakers have new ownership coming in also.
Yeah, they have new ownership with big money. It's big money. And they're going to be able to match Clippers' big money that they have. So that's going to be interesting. That guy owns the Dodgers, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's some firepower there. Hey, but we'll be back next week for my great friend Big Mo, OKC in 7. I'm Ricky Hampton. See you next time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we really appreciate you guys. See you next week. Peace, everybody.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.